I said, you know, I want to go over to TV and be a staff announcer there. I'd rather work. The staff announcer job was like when a network show would run, they were actually 28.5 minutes, and then the local station would have a minute and a half they could sell local commercials, and the staff announcer was the guy who, they'd show a preview for a movie, and there'd be 25 seconds of the new Superman Captain Marvel movie, and then the preview would end and a bunch of theater names would come up on the screen, and a guy would say, starts tomorrow at these theaters. And that's what the booth, then you turn the page and there would be a Kroger commercial. And the camera outside would have the Kroger items that were on sale. So one eye would be on the anchovies they were having on sale, and you had the printed typed copy here. And this week at Kroger, you'll find anchovies, 2 cans, 49 cents. Wonder Bread, you know, and you one eye, you're making sure that Wonder Bread is being shown. Yeah. And then we might go into a public service thing about, like, for Cancer Society or Heart Fund or somebody having a dance, or we might have another commercial. That could be live or film, or they used to use 35mm slides in a lot of TV stations, and a lot of the commercials were, it was this booth announcer would be reading the typed copy from the announce booth, and they would just have slides of like where the Chevy dealer's address and slides. Yeah, that would be what people would see on the screen with this voiceover. So, well, anyway, Night Owl Theater used to be called Armchair Theater. And they all-night movie on Saturday was Night Owl Theater with cartoon owls, cartoons like, say like a Bugs Bunny or animated, you know. And so what happened was the announcer on duty, the staff announcer, would say, we'll be back to Treasure of Pancho Villa with Rory Calhoun after these words. Go to commercial. So I'm there, and I thought, well, you know, I'll just start to BS about the movie, and I'd have some of my good jazz, nice blues in the background, tenor sax playing. And I'd start to talk about, well, the first one I did was Rory Calhoun, Treasure of Pancho Villa. In the movie, he robs a bank down in Pancho Villa's time. He's riding out of town, and he goes by this building, a huge Coca-Cola billboard on the sign. And so we go to black, and I say, geez, you know, why didn't Rory stop in for a Coke after riding, you know, a dusty, robbing a bank? You know, you need the pause that refreshes. And then throughout the movie, I'd BS about the movie and Pancho Villa and Gilbert Roland and the stars, and would do essentially a radio ad lib thing, just whatever. If the muse was there, right, I would do that. And people and they started to write letters to Fritz the Night Owl, but there was no such character at the station. They knew it was Fritz because of my voice for all those years on radio, and they just assumed that this cartoon owl, with his date on the couch walking this Night Owl Theater, or in a Western hat being shot at for a Western movie, or, you know, in a foxhole if it was a war picture. And so they started to write to Fritz the Night Owl, although there was no such character, but the mail, fortunately, was so good that my boss came and said, look, you know, there's so much mail and so much comment on the way you're kind of doing radio on television and conversational, like you're there in the living room with these 2 kids that are watching, or, you know, this guy and this girl. We want to create a Fritz the Night Owl. And so they even considered, and I shuddered, fortunately everybody did, they wanted an owl suit like the San Diego Chicken. But fortunately,
I see you doing that for 17 years.
Yeah, that's a do-it-yourself sauna. I'd have weighed 4 pounds. I'd weighed 4 pounds now, but Elton John was real big at the time, and our station art director went to Revco, which was kind of a chain drugstore prior to CVS. They went to Revco, went to the sunglasses rack, found a big pair of sunglasses like this, bought them for $10, added the horns and the broken mirrors, so that we had a starburst filter on our camera, so that since these mirrors were at odd angles, it wasn't a predictable starburst, it was just happened. And yet it was a great visual.
Right.
And so they decided, okay, let's do Night Owl Theater 7 nights a week, and that's how it came to be.
You know, thanks to the internet, I've gotten to see just a few of the, because some of them were filmed and saved. Because you had that collection.
No, I never saw myself doing a complete movie until somebody from the internet had taped some, and they would sent me a couple.
Okay.
But because I was doing them live, they were on too late. My wife was working, so she couldn't stay up that late. My kids were too young; they couldn't stay up that late. Plus, we didn't have a VHS or a beta, so there was no way to save.
But you did some amazing things, some things that very innovative, and just something. You weren't just standing there saying something. You had backgrounds.
This was
giant people.
This was one of the things that. I always thought when I would see movie hosts, it was like two shows. The host's show, which had nothing to do with the movie, and the movie. And sometimes when the host had a great show, you'd say, why is he interrupting this great show with this lousy movie? Or you'd be hooked on the movie and you'd say, why is this guy talking to Esther Williams in the middle of this John Wayne war picture? So I said, everything I do or say is going to be related to this movie in some way. And when I was in the Army, I spent 2 years making movies for the Army, training films, promotional films, etc. My training films put more GIs to sleep than any guy playing taps, but that Army experience was like a PhD in radio, TV, theater, movie making, and they were just starting to get special effects like wipes, and Ernie Kovacs and Steve Allen were the first two guys to use the television video techniques, and I said, I'm going to use those video techniques for my movie. And so when you would buy a package of films from the distributors, you'd get a package of promotional photos. So here's a picture of Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby standing on a ledge next to a window. So I said, well, okay, as a special effect, I can wipe out that window and I can start to climb out the window and be on the balcony with them. And that, it was the Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier movie. And so that related to the movie. And I, talk about those two guys on the ledge. And so every visual, as the special effects technology got better, I was able to do more and more things, but still everything related to the movies.